too need be voiced. Your mind speaks to us.
Welcome everyone to Kiss Meets the Podcast 4K, the Crazy Crazy Kiss Countdown. I am one of your hosts, Eli Clausen.
And I'm Luke Neely.
And this week we're doing Killers. And of course, those that know what Killers is, it's essentially another greatest hits release. And kind of in the same vein as Alive 2 in a way, they included 4 new tracks on this album. Which, coincidentally, they were all Paul tracks, which I found kind of odd that that was the case. But, really good songs.
Yeah. Gene, I've got some contributions, and after the Elder, Paul was like, no.
He's like, you had your opportunity to write stuff. I'm writing these songs. So, come to find out, when we originally were going to start ranking these, we just went off the basic, U.S. version. We kind of forgot that there were 2 other versions as well, which includes like 3 additional tracks. So we ended up combining all those at the last minute. Unfortunately, everyone that contributed didn't include all 3 of those tracks as well. So that'll just kind of end up affecting the overall rankings for those songs. And we figure that's the best way to do it.
Indeed. And if you guys want to go back and include those, you can, and we'll get it all changed. At the moment, any song that wasn't voted for just immediately got a 15th, so that it doesn't end up putting those songs higher in the rankings,
Absolutely. And, some of this stuff, it's like we just talked about it a week or 2 ago, so it's, there isn't going to be much to say about those songs and whatnot. But, nothing too unique on this as well as far as the, the older songs, kind of like how Double Platinum was. Really the only differences we had was Shout It Out Loud. Instead of the usual ending like on the album Destroyer, it just kind of fades out during the whole chorus part at the end, like almost like a radio edit. And then Detroit Rock City, it starts off with the where you hear the car, revving and going down the road, and then it comes in, which I do like that version of it as well, and we'll get into that more once we get through it and get to that song. But we have more comments and input.
That is for sure. We've got a ton of new comments, so thank you, everybody. This is awesome. Way back on the Double Platinum episode, our first new comment from Jay Rucker, who said, I give this album 7 stars, and personally I would have put more Hotter Than Hell songs.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Wow, I mean, looking at this, there were none on there.
Yeah, it's at least the title track. At least.
Right, right.
So the Ace episode, we've got a new ranking from Jay Rucker for the Ace, which I did go back and include. It did change. Snowblind and Speeding Back to My Baby, they flip-flopped places. So Speeding Back was in number 2 and Snowblind was in number 3, but now Snowblind is number 2 and Speeding Back is number 3.
Wow.
Yep, did not change the overall ranking though, so that's good. Also, Jay says, I first heard Ace's album when I got back into Kiss in 2013. Me and my dad were at a record store and we were looking in the Kiss section, and he said, I'm going to buy you this. I said, why? And he said, because you're going to love it. So after listening to it, my favorite member went from Gene to Ace. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah. Also on the Ace episode, a comment from Guitar Man who says, Ace and Paul, take this one. And then some fancy emojis.
Ah. Sounds like a familiar commenter, huh?
Indeed. Indeed. He must have got his 45 minutes back somehow. So, okay, let's see here. On the Peter Criss episode, let me see if I can find it. Here. 80s Rock and Metal says, love it. Thanks for the comment there. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Unmasked. Got a couple of things here. We've got TL Carpenter 3, who says, in 1977, Kiss and ABBA were my 2 favorite groups. I was 13. The 2 coexisted happily in my room. half was Kiss posters and the other half was ABBA. But you, who weren't even born in 1977, go on and trash the Swedish phenomenon. You had to be there, but you weren't.
You know what? I'm not afraid to say ABBA has some good songs.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
Definitely. I've not listened to a whole lot, but I've never specifically disliked anything I've ever heard.
Yeah. There's some catchy stuff. I mean, like I say, I've always said, good music's good music. I don't care, some people may look down on it just because it's the cool thing to do, but hey, it doesn't mean I like everything they did, but definitely appreciate some of it.
Indeed. Yep. And actually, in a similar vein to what we were talking about there, Chuck McFarland actually commented, music is all about taste, and we all have different tastes, so it's all good. Rock on.
Absolutely. There you go.
Okay, let's see. So now up to the Elder episode, and we did get a ton of comments on this. We've got a ranking from Jay Rucker for Killers, so we'll get to that in a second. Here from Robbie Stars, he says, The Elder is a very interesting album. When it was released, I liked this album, but laughed at a lot of parts in certain tunes. The bongos and Dark Light during the solo by Ace, and he's muttering lyrics like he was stoned, was odd, but it works. Odyssey, which sounds like a song off the movie Xanadu, has a cool guitar solo in it. The Oath has that theatrical breakdown near the end, but it works, and Ace playing bass stands out quite well on this track. Escape from the Island feels like Ace is running from wild animals and dodging sharks in the water, then is rescued by Gene, Paul, and Eric in a helicopter as they lower the emergency ladder just in time. That is awesome. I'm not going to lie, I read that comment before I listened to Killers today, and the version of Killers I listened to has Escape from the Island on it, so I couldn't help but picture that, and yeah, totally. That added so much to that song. Then we've got a ranking from Robbie, for The Elder, and that did actually change The Elder just a little bit. His ranking ended up putting Under the Rose in third place, knocking World Without Heroes out of the top 3, so interesting development there. Also ended up increasing the overall rank to 6.4 out of 10. Also, he says, The Elder sounds really good when you listen to it on a dreary, rainy day. The rain adds to the darkness of the album, in my opinion. Also, a little-known fact, when you added the show Fridays at the end of this episode, you played the perfect part. You can see why Alan Schwartzberg drummed. Eric screws up the breakdown part, and you can see Gene aside of Paul, pissed, yelling in his ear because they almost went off beat at that part. I'm a drummer, and that is a tricky, weird offbeat drum part. Great show, guys. Killers is next.
It is tricky, because when we perform the song, and that is a bit of a tricky part, and to be perfectly honest, I did not even catch that when I was editing. I just kind of picked that part of the song and the video, and I didn't even catch that. And then yes, I've seen that clip many times, but it's not one of them things that I've ingrained in my brain. But that is interesting to note. I appreciate you pointing that out.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. A couple more comments from Jay Rucker. Jay says, The Elder is one of the Kiss albums that didn't go gold, with Sonic Boom, Monster, Symphony, and Carnival of Souls. On Wikipedia, it says that Killers has sold 15,000 copies in America, but the only way to get us a U.S. pressing is by getting the 2014 Kisteria box set. It was an exclusive.
Yes, that was the first time it was officially released on vinyl in the U.S.
Right.
The version I happen to have is the German version, which was probably the most, known version that was out there. But what were the other two?
We have the Japanese, which is the one that included Shandy and Talk to Me, and then the Australian version also had Escape from the Island on it. Or no, I'm sorry, I had that backwards. The Japanese version has Escape from the Island because Escape from the Island wasn't on the Japanese version of The Elder, according to Wikipedia. And then the Australian version of Killers had Shandy and Talk to Me.
Okay, I was going to say, that's weird that the Australian didn't have Shandy, because that song's so huge over there.
Yeah, no, I definitely got that backward.
Well, now you're going to get called out for that.
Oh, no, every time. Jay also wants to know, are we going to do episodes on Kiss Rocks Vegas, Alive Millennium, MTV Unplugged, and Greatest Kiss?
I know we definitely have Unplugged planned in the list.
We do.
Vegas, I mean, I guess we should.
Why not? Yeah, screw it.
And did we have Alive 4 in the list too already?
Alive 4 is, but Alive Millennium is
Oh,
not.
that's right, Millennium. Oh God. I guess we could do that if we really wanted, but that's a horrible show. I'm sorry, but
Right. No, absolutely. Jay, since you asked, do you think we should? Because we're totally down to if everybody thinks it's a good idea.
how about you come on the show with us for those as well? We need to get you on.
We do.
Jay, Javier, we need all these guys to come on.
We do. Robbie, absolutely.
Robbie, Guitar Man.
Yeah, we gotta have Guitar Man. Ooh, we should get Guitar Man and Marty White on the same episode. Oh, and Gene Simmons.
What? Oh, and Clint Eastwood. Don't forget.
Oh, we have such a great fan base, right?
What if it's all the same person?
It might be. It might be.
It's your dad, like, trolling us.
Dang it, Dad. Yes. So just in that vein, there is a few more comments. There's another one I'm going to read, but there are a few comments on the Elder that we're going to just kind of leave off of there. They're not specifically bad, but it's pretty certainly a troll. So if any of you are interested, feel free to go look at it. But we're not gonna, we're not gonna talk about it on here.
Yeah, because I don't want to make it look like you're achieving what you're set out to do is to, like, bother us or get to us, and it's not really worth giving that much attention to take that time out of the show. And all the people that do appreciate what we do, they're here to see this and hear about this album, not hearing about trolls. And I'll just stop there before I start going on a rant.
I will say in relation to that, though, Robbie Stars, who's commented on, I'm pretty sure every single episode, so huge thanks, Robbie. You're one of the biggest reasons that we do this, other than just us being two guys that love talking about this stuff.
All you guys.
He did reply to the comment in question there, where he says, this podcast is my favorite Kiss podcast by far, and it's all about the fun factor. What other podcasts break down every single Kiss album? Well, I've got one long word for you: Kiss Meets the Podcast. So thank you, man.
Yeah, seriously, man. That seriously means a lot. And again, I've said this from day one. We're totally supportive of all the other kid podcasts. Kiss podcasts.
Yes.
There are tons of great ones out there. I enjoy listening to so many of them myself. So, please don't take it that way, but it means a lot that you really think that. So, makes it feel like we're doing something right, and all this time we take out to do this and editing, yada yada. Send me a medal in the mail, yeah.
Yes.
No, but it really does seriously mean a lot.
Yes, absolutely. So, one more comment here.
I unplugged my earplugs.
Oops. From Brock McDowell, also on the Elder episode. He said, 81, I was flipping through LPs at TG&Y one day, and he went, what? New Kiss, no promotion, Casablanca bought out, manager, fired Ace out 81 and 82. It was frustrating years for a fan, but I loved the LP from the first moment. It was not Dynasty or Unmasked, no dance beat, and today it rules. By the way, love your podcast, thumbs up.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate that.
Absolutely, yes, thank you. Okay. So, how about some Killers info?
Ooh.
Okay. Ooh, I actually just now remembered something that I had forgotten until just this moment. So, of course, this is the second. Wikipedia calls it a compilation album, but like you said, basically a greatest hits album by Kiss. This was released on June 15th, 1982, which was my negative 9th birthday.
Through an amazing career comes an amazing collection of hits. Rock and roll all night. I was made for loving you. Shout it out loud. Talk to me. 10 of the greatest hits of Kiss, but 4 new tracks. Kiss Killer. The ultimate rock and roll band of the decade. Gene, Paul, and Eric rock it to you with Kiss Killer. It's a fantasy. $9.99 out now. Son of a gun.
Turns out the 4 new songs on this were they were asked by Phonogram Records, who was more or less their new record label, to do because of how bad The Elder flopped. They were like, hey, we know you guys are planning on doing a heavier album. Can you give us something to sort of prove it?
It says a lot. It's because obviously these songs sound like they could have been on The Elder. It's kind of the same production in a way,
right?
But at the same time, it's like a good transition, almost like you could kind of hear it sort of starting go to where Creatures went.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. Not sure about the why they picked which songs they did, but the Wikipedia does note here, Shout It Out Loud is the 7-inch mix, which was apparently different, which, as we talked about earlier, fades out a little earlier. Detroit Rock City has a different intro. God of Thunder is missing the intro.
That's right.
I Was Made for Loving You also says edited version, but I'm not sure what exactly is different about it.
I'm trying to think myself, because it wasn't that long ago. Maybe it's that shortened, before it goes into... I think maybe that part's shortened. I'm not... Don't quote me on that.
Right. Of course, the Rock and Roll All Night on this was from a live one instead of the studio version, which in my opinion was the way to go. Although it is kind of weird to have a bunch of studio tracks and then suddenly there's a live track.
They should have put the live version on Smashes.
Oh, gee, yeah, true. Very true. No singles that I'm seeing, unless they're just not listed here.
I swear it seems like there was one for I'm a Legend Tonight.
It wouldn't surprise me. That'd be weird for them to just not release any.
It's showing some singles that were released in 1982, and they were all like Netherlands. Like this one is Nowhere to Run and Cold Gin. And then there's Down Your Knees and Nowhere to Run, which was Germany and France. And then I'm a Legend Tonight and Love Gun, which was Japan only. But they weren't released until after Creatures was already out, which is kind of odd.
That is really weird.
Really like the cover of the Japanese I'm a Legend Tonight. It's pretty cool.
Oh, nice. And also, I noticed Creatures itself was released not too long after this, just a few months. I think Creatures was in October, and this one was in June.
Yeah, what was the time frame between Elder and this?
Ooh, I am not 100% sure. It wasn't very long, because wasn't The Elder in, like, November or something like that?
Seems like that's what you said, like October, November.
Right. So yeah, they basically didn't waste any time then. They did end up bringing in Michael James Jackson to produce those 4 new songs, which is pretty cool. This was his introduction to them, and then, as we know, he went on to produce Creatures of the Night, Lick It Up, and started helping them with Animalize before he had to go somewhere else.
Right.
That's pretty cool there. We've got the 2 different versions of the cover too, which has the only difference being the alternate logo. Since Germany kind of didn't like the S's in the band logo, so they've got the sort of backwards Z's. There, yeah. which that's how our CD version looks too. Yep, just like that. Yes.
Thought I was frozen, huh?
Nope. Now we know.
Knowing's half the battle.
Yeah, right. The picture on Wikipedia is the normal logo, and it actually looks really weird to me. Actually, I'm so used to looking at those backwards Z's on this one.
Right, which is the 2014 reissue. So it's basically a newer image. And Elder was November 10th, 81.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, only 6-7 months in between here.
Wow. And then, like you said, 4 months or so until Creatures, so, man.
Yeah. I mean, they had to have been started on Creatures already, surely. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they put Killers out, because maybe they realized, okay, this is taking a little longer than we thought, because, they were doing so much with it. Like, okay, let's put a little something out there to kind of, I don't know, feed the appetite or whatever, and, and then with whatever the case is with those 4 songs, Paul must have wanted to include them, which I'm glad they did.
Yeah. And this is, again, sort of like Alive 2. All 4 of those new songs are Bob Kulick on lead guitar. Ace had basically left the band at this point, which we know, and also Wikipedia basically says he didn't officially leave till the end of 1982, but he had already ended his active involvement by the time Killers came out, and apparently they didn't even consider having him play on these songs. Which is strange because, and I mean, you can see why after all of those albums of things where Ace was clearly not happy with what was going on. Apparently, a bunch of the stuff he tried to contribute to the Elder, they just ditched it. So he was definitely pretty disillusioned. But on the other hand, I've always wondered, like, they're finally doing what he wanted to do from the start. Why didn't he get back into this? Chooses to leave.
I guess. The way Elder went, and he thought he was done, and probably didn't think they were gonna get any heavier at that point.
Right.
And I can see why they, didn't offer to have him play, because it's like, hey, you already decided you're leaving, so you're not gonna get any more songwriting credits now.
Right.
Or appearance, money either.
Exactly. I thought it was kind of weird too when I listened to Killers just now. The solo on Partners in Crime, I know it's Bob Kulick, but it sounds like Vinny.
Yeah, it does.
I thought that was a little strange, almost nod to something they didn't know yet. Also, Wikipedia lists Michael Japp as having played rhythm guitar on track 2, which is Down on Your Knees. I think he helped co-write that song. Yeah, he did. So interesting thing there. And then other than that, I mean, the personnel on this album is all over the place because it's a greatest hits album. Most of the songs are Peter, but the new ones are Eric. Some of them are Anton, Yeah,
it's still kind of interesting that nothing from Hotter Than Hell was included. Again, no Shock Me or anything like that, which I know Steve mentions too.
Right.
But I totally agree. Now I know in at least one case, kind of like with Live 2, they ranked all the 4 new songs by themselves, kind of all at the top.
Right.
I was originally thinking of doing that, and then I was like, you know what? I think I'll just rank them, all together, like how I really like the songs compared to, the stuff that's on there. I mean.
Right.
I figured that would be the only fair way to do it.
Totally. Yeah, I intended to mix them in, and then by the time I got to them, I didn't. I ended up putting them at the top just because I like all 4 of them so much. But I definitely intended to mix them in had I felt it appropriate,
Right. And not that that's wrong either by doing it, it's just whatever everyone's preferences is all it comes down to.
Right. Absolutely.
Because, I mean, I'm pretty confident that the top 3 are going to be 3 of those songs anyway. So.
Yeah. So I guess we'll jump into the outside ratings we've got at the moment.
Okay.
So first, Jay Rucker here. He says, I give Killers 9 stars. I love all 4 of the new songs on it. A little story I have about this album is at the Atlanta Kiss Expo this year, a guy had some cassettes at his table, and he had Killers for $2, I think. And while I was getting the money out of my wallet, he said, oh yeah, this album only plays on one side. So I don't own a copy of this album. A few months later, I went to a record store, and they had it on CD, but he told me it doesn't play. So it's hard for me to find Killers. Killers is also my favorite Kiss Greatest Hits album.
Yeah, I'd have to say it's up there.
Yeah,
definitely.
I liked it better than I thought, honestly, having given it this listen, because I'm generally not a fan of their Greatest Hits albums. But yeah,
right. I think Greatest Kiss might be my favorite Greatest Hits album, but yeah, this one is definitely up there. It's based on them 4 songs themselves.
Right. So he excluded "Escape from the Island" from his. So
Okay.
Jay, totally up to you if you want to throw it in the middle there somewhere, or if you want to just leave it at the end of the list, we can leave it there too. So in his number 14 spot, Rock and Roll All Night. 13, I Was Made for Loving You. 12, Shandy. 11, Talk to Me. 10, Sure Know Something. 9, Shout It Out Loud. 8, Detroit Rock City. 7, Love Gun. 6, God of Thunder. 5, Cold Gin. 4, Partners in Crime. 3, Down on Your Knees. 2, Nowhere to Run. And in his number 1 spot, I'm a Legend Tonight.
I'm a legend tonight. Gonna make you feel right when you reach for the light. I'm a legend tonight. I'm a legend tonight. Gonna make you feel right.
And he also notes, I'm so excited for Creatures of the Night. 2.
Oh God, yes, can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a good one. You know, I just wanted to say, like, with Killers, for a long... And again, this is back when I was younger. I didn't know everything. Still don't. I wasn't real familiar with what Killers was. Like, I'd hear about it, and I basically just did assume that, oh, it's just a Greatest Hits album. So it's like, why do I don't really need it. You know, it's, all it is a different cover. And I didn't even realize, you know, no, there's 4 different songs. And then I started... It probably wasn't until the Kiss box set came out and they put some of that stuff on there. And I'm like, what's this from? I never heard, and then realized it's off Killers. Oh, duh. So,
Whoops. Indeed. I think we just kind of always had a CD of this. Must have been whenever Dad went back and collected all of the albums on CDs.
right.
This was just seemed like one of the normal ones to me, you know.
So, quick funny story. My copy of Killers on cassette also doesn't play all the way through. It, for some reason, I think I got about halfway through side 1 and it just, like, tightens up and just stops playing. It won't fast forward or anything. So, yeah, kind of an interesting story. That's kind of odd.
Apparently there must have been some sort of consistent issue here.
And I just realized that it has the regular logo.
Right, yeah.
And this, this is the regular, it doesn't have the 3 extra tracks.
Just the 12.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Didn't mean to veer off there too much, but let's get back on track.
Right. All right. So, Steve, now.
Okay.
Steve says, it was really nice to hear 4 new songs on this album. Gave me the sense of comfort to think that Kiss can still rock. My guess would be that's what they were going after for the fans as well after the Elder album sadly failed on the charts. 2 greatest hits albums by this time and still no Shock Me. Dang.
There you go.
Exactly. If I remember right, it was about this time that Kiss was slowly losing the fans and the credibility of who Kiss was as a band. So, yeah, I think by this point, most people had just sort of written them off.
Right.
So he's got a little bit more there that we're going to hop over. And then he tagged both you and I and says, I think you guys are doing a great job on the show, taking the time out of your own busy lives and having people on the show and myself on there. So thank you, Steve.
Yes, thank you. And again, last little bit I want to say, from the beginning of the show when it was me and Brandon and Chad and every version since till now, we have always said 100 times, we do not claim to know everything, nor do we know everything. Yes, we know a bit, and, at times, during the hustle and bustle of the show, I tend to draw blanks at times when it might be something that I would know off camera, but sometimes that happens. So, hey, we're not perfect, we're human, we make mistakes. If you choose to try to call us out, at least give us a little bit of, constructive criticism. Let's put it that way. Don't just leave empty comments and, trying to be rude or anything like that, because it's not going to get under my skin. I know that's what you're trying to do, but it ain't going to work. So
I just thought it was funny, really. I'm like, oh, man, I don't know who you think I am? I'm just some guy,
Yeah. I mean, apparently we, at some point, went to the school of Kiss and graduated with honors, and we know everything there is to know, and I don't know.
Oh, well.
we do what we do, and for those that appreciate it, we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, let's continue.
Indeed. So Steve continues here. He said, like I said before, it's taken me back to my childhood, growing up being a Kiss fan and remembering when these albums came out and the first time I listened to them. Once again, thank you guys for what you're doing. It is well appreciated here. So Steve says, overall ranking for Killers, 5 out of 10. Let's see. It looks like he got all 3 of the extra tracks in there. In his 15 spot, Rock and Roll All Night.
What? Over Escape from the Island?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh. Throw a notebook at him. In his 14th spot, what should have been 15, Talk to Me. 13, Escape from the Island. See, I don't know anything. 12, I Was Made for Loving You. 11, Shandy. 10, Sure Know Something. 9, Cold Gin. 8, Love Gun. 7, Shout It Out Loud. 6, God of Thunder. 5, Detroit Rock City. 4, Partners in Crime. 3, I'm a Legend Tonight. 2, Nowhere to Run. And in his number 1 spot, Down on Your Knees.
Wow. Forget you, Steve. We didn't match anything this week.
Yeah. I'm not sure I matched much or any as well. I'm not sure. All right. So Dad now, too. His overall rating for Killers, 6 out of 10. And he notes here, not really a fan of the 4 new songs, which is surprising. He told me in person that he sort of felt like they were just sort of slapped together. Like Paul was like, we need some new ones. Here's some stuff. He says, greatest hits song choices are fairly good, but how can you have a Kiss greatest hits without Deuce or Calling Dr. Love?
True.
Yeah. We got a whole list of songs that were like that and Shock Me and Hotter Than Hell and yeah.
One of the only things I could think of is, since this seemed to have been more, promoted overseas, was maybe these are all the songs that kind of did better over there than over here. I don't know.
It must be something.
But I do like the sequence. Like, I'm glad that they split up the 4 songs instead of just putting them all right there, the first 4 tracks or even the last 4. I like how they kind of separated them and split them up. It makes it's kind of refreshing because, you get those 2 new ones right off the bat, then you get those killer, no pun intended, old tracks, and then new stuff again. It's like, it's kind of it's a nice little mixture the way it flows.
Right. Alrighty, so Dad's listing here in the number 12 spot, because he didn't do any of the 3, actually. So, Dad, if you want to throw those 3 in, feel free to, or we can leave them at the bottom, either way. Number 12, Down on Your Knees. 11, Partners in Crime. 10, Nowhere to Run. 9, I'm a Legend Tonight. 8, Cold Gin. 7, Detroit Rock City. 6, I Was Made for Loving You. 5, Love Gun. 4, Sure Know Something. 3, Shout It Out Loud. 2, God of Thunder, and his number 1, Rock and Roll All Night.
Man, this is really going to be diverse.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't expect it for this album.
Right.
When was your, when do you recall the first time you ever heard this, and especially those 4 new songs?
Ooh. That's definitely a tough one. I'm not 100% sure that I ever paid a whole lot of attention to the repeated songs. I remember the first time I specifically remember hearing the 4 new ones anyway is when I kind of got back into Kiss. You know, like I've talked about, I went through that big phase of the no makeup years, and finally when I realized there were more things to music than 80s metal, I went back and listened to everything, and this was one of the ones that I listened to, and I don't remember, to be honest, if I listened to the whole album or if I saw, like, oh, well, there's only 4 new ones, I'll just listen to those. But I do remember hearing those new ones and liking them a lot.
Right. Yeah, I had never owned the CD myself, and I just recently got the cassette. A friend of mine found it for me, gave it to me. The vinyl, a friend of mine sent it to me a few years back. Honestly, the first time I probably heard it was I probably downloaded the album because, you know, once I started getting familiar with those songs, I was like, well, let me just download it first, you know, check it out and all that. And
Right.
And of course, you know, I had to have the album just to add it to the collection anyway, but then obviously that stuff grew on me too, you know, those 4 songs. So.
Definitely. All right, I don't see anybody, but if somebody bursts in and shanks me in the middle of the show, pay no attention to it.
It's probably just Sam going to the bathroom.
That's probably what it is, yeah.
All right, I guess I'll kick us off this week. So, you know, my number 15, we just talked about this last week, doing The Elder, so really doesn't need to be anything said. Escape from the Island. I guess the only thing I'll reiterate is Kiss isn't the greatest instrumental band. And
Right.
it would have been cool if they were, you know, if this version was maybe like an extended version or something, but no, same old thing.
Yeah. Yep. My number 15 is Talk to Me, because screw that song.
I knew it.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Ace. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to sabotage your chances of a medal, but man, I just cannot handle that song.
And the fact that that's the only Ace song they put on here too.
Right. Again, why no Shock Me or Rocket Ride or Save Your Love? You know, something. You know.
Hell, put Dark Light on here. I mean,
Right.
for that matter.
To be honest, as far as songs from The Elder, if they were going to put one on there, why Escape from the Island? Unless it was only because the Japanese release supposedly didn't include that song. Why not The Oath or World Without Heroes, you know?
That could be the case, but I don't know. Number 14 for me is Shandy. Yeah, you know, it's a great song, and I know it ranked a lot higher on the Unmasked episode, but man, you know, just compared to this lineup of songs, it's not as strong for me on this album. It's not, you know, this album is called Killers. It's like, to me, I hear that name, I see the cover. You know, most of these songs on here, it's like, you know, they're kind of almost like the heavier Kiss songs, most of them. And then you get a song like, you know, Shandy that comes on and it kind of just slows it down, and they're like, okay, like, this is cool for Unmasked, but not for Killers.
Yeah. Hearing that alongside some of these other ones is like, yeah, my number 14 is actually Escape from the Island, and for that reason, again, because of the instrumental thing, and the song could have been miles more interesting than it was, but honestly, hearing that song come on right after Shout It Out Loud was almost like culture shock. It was like, wow, this is the same band. That's weird, and it doesn't fit that well, you know?
That is true. And, you know, thankfully they didn't do a bunch of re-recordings like they would do later on.
Right.
Number 13, and this is the only thing I matched anyone on so far, unless you and I end up matching any, but I Was Made for Loving You. I matched Jay on this. again, I mean, great track. Opening track of Dynasty. It's one of, we've said on that episode, it's a staple Paul song. But hey, there's enough Paul on here anyway with those 4 new songs, let alone, Detroit Rock City, some of that other stuff.
Right.
But I don't know, I just feel like it doesn't really fit. Like, again, I'm glad they at least put Sure Know Something on the album as well. But, man, I would have rather seen, like Hard Times or Charisma even would have been a great choice.
All right. My number 13 is God of Thunder for this one. And I know, but it's for the same reason that it ranked low on Destroyer for me. The studio version just does not do it for me, I wish it did. Taking the intro out, honestly, sort of even took it down a little lower for me. I don't know, that the creepy kid thing, while not totally necessary, was an interesting thing that the studio version had that no other version did. And I don't know, if they remixed it or anything, I still feel like they could have done more to make it feel a little heavier and bigger. Like if it had the Creatures production, perfect.
I'm piggybacking on you because that's my number 12, God of Thunder. I agree, the intro thing, it kind of helps, but not enough. The kid thing, like I said, back on Destroyer, I could do without that. There is a version floating around on YouTube. I wish it was an official release, but someone took out all those kid noises and sound effects from the song, and man, it just makes the song sound so much heavier and more demonic, and I wish that was a version that Kiss would officially release. But look it up on YouTube for those that haven't heard that. It's a great version of the song.
Indeed. My number 12 here, I Was Made for Loving You. That's weird. We kind of jumped around there. Yeah. The Dynasty songs on this still feel somewhat out of place to me. They were fine for the era they were in, and I like them a lot, and I like the way they do I Was Made for Loving You live, which I think I may have said in the Dynasty episode, but putting that song after Detroit Rock City and God of Thunder, it just felt weird.
My number 11 is Sure Know Something. And again, that same vein, the Dynasty stuff just does not click. And, looking at their image on this cover, and, basically an Elder era image, but you could kind of slowly see the transformation going towards Creatures. And this is definitely, say what you will about this era and costumes, but compared to the Dynasty costumes, that has a much heavier, that's Kiss type look. And
black with the black and silver,
yes,
and metal, yeah.
And when I hear Sure Know Something and I Was Made, as much as I love those songs, but if I'm sitting there looking at the album cover as I'm like, it just doesn't feel like it's, like, I almost want to say it doesn't feel like the same band in a way, but if that makes sense, but because they were already on their way to one of the best albums of their whole career, within months of this.
Right.
So Sure Know Something, but again, we said plenty about it. It's a great track, bass line, all that stuff. It's cool video and all that too. So
indeed. My number 11, Shandy. So continuing that same vein of a great Kiss song that just doesn't seem to fit next to.
Number 10 is Talk to Me. And really no other reason than, it's an Ace song. Unfortunately, the only Ace song they put on here, so I had to help it out a little bit and at least give it that top 10 spot. Because I knew you were giving it the number 2 spot, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. My number 10 is Rock and Roll All Night on this one. love it. You know, I think I talked about it back on the Alive episode and definitely on the Dress to Kill episode. I prefer the live version of this song. Just feels more energetic, and having the guitar solo in there, I've always loved. And then I said it earlier in the episode. On the other hand, it does feel kind of weird being the only live track on there. But no, of the two versions, I'm glad they put this personally.
I mean, really, that was next to Beth was probably the biggest single they had at this time anyway.
Right.
So that's probably one reason they included it, maybe to try to get a resurgence in the charts even.
Right.
Let's see. My number 9, finally touching on these new ones, is Partners in Crime. It's cool, but I always thought the beginning of it's a little weird, kind of, it's kind of slow and, just kind of, kind of just lacks a little bit. But, it's a good song. I love all 4 of these songs. Could listen to them back to back all day. Paul's vocals are great in all of these. But this one just doesn't quite, to me, feel like one of those Paul, like, epic Star Child type songs, so,
Right.
which we will get to.
Right, yeah. It does have sort of a plotty feel.
Mm-hmm.
But I would agree, I think that one's my least favorite of the 4 new. But yeah, I was thinking about that too. This has more of a... all 4 of the new ones, it's like he's singing Love Gun. You know what I mean? Like, he's got that edge on his voice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And then, just the way it starts, that... Like, to me, it just sounds like production music almost, like...
Right.
Like, it just kind of has this, like, hokey, kind of cheap sound to it. I don't know. It definitely doesn't sound like Kiss.
Right.
But, I'm not sitting here saying I hate it or anything, but yeah, it's just not a good Paul song necessarily for me.
My number 9, Sure Know Something. And this one reached a little higher into my list just because I like the song. But yeah, still, even coming out of Talk to Me, which on that weird track listing is where it's at. It's between Talk to Me and Nowhere to Run. Even coming out of Talk to Me, it still feels weird when it comes on. Yeah.
Number 8, Down on Your Knees. Got a cool, little drum intro there from Eric, and, and it's kind of weird how, 2 of these songs at least, both pretty much start off with, alright!
Right, yeah.
Kind of an odd choice there of vocals, but it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, Down on Your Knees, I love that, that little pre-chorus part, the she's alright. I think that's really cool, and it's just a good, to get you bobbing your head, man. It's a good moving song.
Definitely. My number 8, Shout It Out Loud. I don't mind this mix, but I did not like the early fade out, personally. But when it first started, I was really enjoying it. I was actually sitting here thinking, like, wow, I actually like this. If they remixed it, or if this is the 7-inch single mix or whatever, this is neat. I kind of like this. And then it got to the end and it faded out early, and I'm like, oh. All right.
Come on, guy.
Yeah.
Number 7 for me is Cold Gin. I mean, it's Cold Gin, man.
Yeah, right.
Obviously a classic, written by Ace, so, kind of the second appearance by Ace in a way,
Right.
As far as songwriting. So, yeah, what needs to be said about it? It's the album version. We covered it plenty on the first episode, and just absolute classic. I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but I probably do tend to prefer the album version over the live version.
You know what they should have done with this? This is actually my number 7 as well, Cold Gin. It's too bad Ace wasn't really involved with this, because it would have been neat to have him go ahead and recut the lead vocals.
Oh, yeah. That would have been a great idea. Absolutely. Yeah. Which we didn't get it till what? Origins?
Yeah. a good recorded version. I mean, because he was doing it on Reunion, but I don't know if there's any official, unless it's on a Live Millennium. I don't remember if it is or not.
I think it is. Someone needs to take the vocals from Origins and put it over the original Kiss track.
Yeah.
Somehow.
That'd be neat.
I would love to hear that. Where are we at? Number 6. Shout Out Loud. Yeah, I agree. I mean, this radio edit, really all they did was cut off maybe 5 seconds of the ending. I don't know why they didn't just let it end like it normally does.
Right.
I don't see, in the radio world, even 5 seconds can't be that big of a deal. I don't know. Tell us, RJ. You have to let us know. But other than that, it's Shout Out Loud. I'm glad they put the album version because, again, that translates so much better than the Live 2 or any other live version, in my opinion.
Yes.
So it was good to hear that album version again come on. And I agree. When it does come on, it's like you almost forget that that's on the album, and you're like, oh, yeah, cool. Shout Out Loud.
Yeah. My number 6 here was Love Gun. Really enjoyed it on this listen through. When it came on, maybe it was the way the songs are organized. In fact, the more I think about it, I feel like it is. Having the 2 cool new ones, and then Cold Gin, and then Love Gun. By that point, I was rocking. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm piggybacking again. Love Gun's my number 5. But yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like it's a tad bit of a different mix, but not too far off from the original.
Right.
But man, it's just that I said it on that episode that probably is the quintessential Paul song.
Right.
And let alone one of my favorite Ace solos again. And
yep.
So it's just a perfect song. There's nothing you can say bad about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone will find something to say, but
they should have put the live guitar solo in this version. There you go. There's your bad thing.
There you go.
Yes, they should have done it.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. Let's see. My number 5, Detroit Rock City. I both enjoy and don't enjoy the new intro here. I don't know. I do like the version where it just starts right away, which I'm not sure when that first appeared. Is that what's on Double Platinum?
Yes.
When the music just starts?
Yes.
So it was kind of cool getting a little bit of the intro this time with that car revving, but I do really like that intro.
And the version on Double Platinum is also the one that's on Greatest Kiss. It starts off the album.
Right.
Let's see, number 4?
Yeah.
I'm a Legend Tonight. Now this one, way back, I think it was just me and Branton at the time, we did an episode where it was like, let's put together our ultimate set list. And I remember talking about this song, because this is another one. So when Paul, goes out to the crowd like he does on Love Gun or whatnot, I picture this song like he's still out there on the podium. Instead of starting Black Diamond, they do I'm a Legend Tonight. And, maybe have that disco ball still going, and he's just up there on that podium, doing his thing, looking like the Star Child and singing this song. And, almost because when I hear it and the way I picture it, it's almost like kind of how God of Thunder is for Gene. It's like you can almost picture people would be bowing to him as he's, like he's the master of. That's kind of the Star Child character. And I always thought this would have been a great song to do live for that setting. And unfortunately, they've never done it. But who knows? Maybe they'll pull something out on this last tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just definitely one of my favorite Paul songs. I know there's so many, but it's definitely one of those that's up there. Top 10 for sure.
Yep. My number 4 dips into those new ones there with Partners in Crime. Like I said, this is certainly my least favorite of the 4 new ones, but I do really like all 4 of them. And it's this one being at the bottom of the new list just because it yeah, it feels a little plotty compared to the others. It feels less thought out than the others. I don't know. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. Top three already. Well, my number three is Rock and Roll All Night. I mean, it's freaking Rock and Roll All Night. You can't get much better than that. I mean, you know, and I said it before, I'll say it again. I do like both versions. You know, there's definitely things about the studio version that I love that gives me chills still. And then there's things about the live version that I love, that it just sounds a bit heavier and, you know, all that other stuff, solo, whatnot. But, yeah, it's Rock and Roll All Night. I mean, you can't really, I mean, I know not everyone agrees, but hey, it's, when it comes down to it, that's the Kiss song. I'm sorry, but
Right.
that's what most people know. Even people that don't really know Kiss know that song.
Yep. That should have been our greatest hits theme here. We basically could have said that for all of these older songs. Oh, it's God of Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's Detroit Rock City. I mean,
It's a killer.
it really is.
It's too bad this didn't come out after Creatures, and then they would have included Killer on it.
Oh, yeah, that would have been funny. Killer on Killers. Yes. My number three, I'm actually matching Jay on this one. Down on Your Knees. Yep, just another pretty solid Paul song. You know, one thing that I really like about these new ones is it feels like what would happen if there was a weird thing with the Paul Stanley solo album, Dress to Kill, and Love Gun came together and popped out these four new songs. You know what I mean? They have that sort of older-ish Kiss vibe. It's not quite a Creatures vibe, but then production is more like Love Gun, but then the songwriting itself sounds like something that could have been on the Paul solo album.
That's a great way to put it. They do sound like they could have been on this, and again, maybe those were more leftover songs from that solo album.
True that.
But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about those songs, the way they were recorded and sound. There's just something that's very, you know, like, it just sounds sort of raw, and there's a real organic sound to it. You know, it just, I don't know. It just, I like the feeling I get when I listen to those songs.
Right. You can tell they were kind of focusing on cutting out the crap, so to speak. Like, let's just do rock. Get rid of all the extra stuff. We don't need keyboards. We don't need fancy this or that. Let's just couple of guitars, a bass, some drums, vocals. We'll do some good songs, you know?
Absolutely. Number two, Detroit Rock City. So, you know, as I said before, the version on Double Platinum, that's my favorite version of Detroit. I like when it just starts off. Again, I know how epic and classic that whole intro piece is. I like it too, but at this point, it's like I just want the song. So this particular version is my second favorite version because I do like how it just kind of starts with that revving of the car. You know, you hear it going down the road. Song kicks in. So I can tolerate that one just as well. And so yeah. Other than that, it's Detroit Rock City.
Right. Exactly. Yep. My number two, I'm a Legend Tonight. This one gets stuck in my head all the time. This one and the number one, just all the time I think about that song. There's such a great Paul song. Both of those, really. But I'm a Legend Tonight stands out. It was close. Before I listened to the album today, I was really not sure which one was going to be two and which one was going to be one, but I knew they were going to be the top two.
Mm-hmm. You know, I really wasn't sure if one of those new songs was going to be my top, you know, song out of all these, to be honest, but it ended up happening. So my number one is Nowhere to Run.
Same.
Okay. What I said about I'm a Legend Tonight can go pretty much the same with this too. I mean, it's another one of them that just sounds like that epic Paul, you know, just, you know, I like the Love Gun cover, you know, the way that they're all kind of standing there and the girls are sort of like, you know, bowing to them or whatever.
Yeah.
That's kind of the image I get in mind. Not that we're all girls, but
Right.
but like, you know, he's just up there on that pedestal, just look, you know, singing that song, doing his things, you know, his points and all that stuff like he does. And such a great song though, Nowhere to Run.
Good Lord, yes. I love the background vocals on the chorus. I love at the end of the song when Paul goes way up high. It's such a Paul thing to do. You know, combining the new vocal techniques that he started using around Dynasty with the older style. You know, like, oh, man.
And that whole intro, man, like just that little bit alone is so different too. And you know, I like the acoustic mixed in with it. And
Yep.
So cool, man.
Definitely.
Nowhere to Run. All right, well that wraps it up. So as far as overall rankings, I'm gonna have to give this one a 7. You know, really, those 4 songs alone, I can base it off of that, a 7. But
Right.
my God, I hate to keep sounding cliche and whatever because the thing's called Killers, but there's a reason it's called Killers. I mean, the song list on here, and yeah, you know, we can argue maybe a few that don't fit, but I tell you what, in the long run, when you listen to the whole thing, man, it's just like, you know, it leaves you wanting more by the time you finish the whole album. You know, you're ready to, you know, take the needle off or hit play again, whatever way you're listening to it.
Right.
So it's just it's a cool you know, design as far as, you know, the cover, and you know, because this is kind of similar to that poster I was talking about with Elder that comes with the Netherlands version. It's kind of like basically this picture.
Right.
Now, and another thing I was thinking of is like current day Kiss. You know, there's always talk now, like, are they going to do another album, or, you know, do we want it? You know, personally, I started thinking to myself, it's probably time for another greatest hits type album. And why not do it like this? Just give us, say, 4 new songs. That's all we need. Because I don't know if a full album is necessarily a good idea, to be honest. I mean, it's just probably not going to do anything near, you know, what a lot of them classic albums did.
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, give us, whether it's 4 Paul songs again, or, you know, split this time, you know, maybe just something like that. Just give us 4, maybe 5 new songs, and then just throw some greatest hits, deep cuts, or, you know, maybe some unheard live versions, things like that.
Right.
So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Killers, though. But, yeah, I agree, though. It's one of the best, as far as, you know, greatest hits, but I think Greatest Kiss probably takes the cake for me. For some reason, that one was always a little bit special, like, so I would just listen to it constantly. And, again, that was how I discovered, you know, Two Sides of the Coin and all that stuff. And, you know, that live version of Shout Out Loud from the reunion tour, like, I love that version, so.
Yeah. I have so many things that come to mind for Killers, as far as both things that I like and things that I feel like could have been done different. But I agree. I gave this one a 7. And the big reasons this one's a little bit further up there for me than others is because of how much I like the new ones, and because I really like that they didn't screw with the old ones too much. I probably talked about that on Double Platinum, that I just cannot stand some of the things they did to those old songs.
Right.
And while I understand why they would want to give us something a little different, it's like, man, I like the song for a reason. Leave it be, you know? And they pretty much did that with this, which is good. So having said that, the song choices were a tiny bit questionable. You know, nothing from Hotter Than Hell, nothing from Dress to Kill either, which is weird. And what, Cold Gin, the only one from the original album, so no Juice, no Strutter, no Black Diamond, no Beth. From the later on, which is weird. But then again, having said that, you only have so much room on a greatest hits album. You can't put everything from everywhere. And this is a fair picture of the band's recent career. You know what I mean? They included some old stuff. They included a lot of the really good Destroyer Rock and Roll Over Love Gun stuff. And oh,
That's
I'm
my
sorry.
wife. My wife's home. That's her.
As much as we talked about the Dynasty and Unmasked songs feeling like they don't fit, and I don't feel like they do, you know, that was part of the recent career, so it does make a bit of sense that they'd be on there.
Right.
Same for Escape from the Island, although, again, I really feel like it ought to have been The Oath if it had to have been one.
You know, and another one that just popped in my head, there's nothing off of Live 2 as far as the new tracks off of there.
Right. They could have put Rocket Ride, another great Eights song that could have been something on there. The 4 new songs, absolutely love them, but on the other hand, I personally feel like the production could have been a little bit better. It falls a little flat. The drums strike me as okay sometimes, but then other times it's like, again, where's the big Eric Carr drums? This sounds kind of like Love Gun. The drums are played very well, you know, so it was nice to hear Eric played, but yeah, and then the guitars, they work, but they weren't big. They weren't big Kiss guitars. You know?
Exactly. Now let's pretend this, though. Like, say those 4 songs didn't exist. They didn't put them on the album, and they did just throw on, say, Deuce, Beth, I don't know, Shock Me, whatever, I Stole Your Love, whatever. I don't think we would have been doing this episode today if that had happened.
Right, it would have made the album feel a bit pointless.
Yeah, it would have literally been just another greatest hits, or maybe the first greatest hits since Double Platinum. I mean, yeah, Double Platinum's considered a greatest hits, but the songs are so different to me that I almost don't see it that way.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, it would have literally just been another greatest hits album to promote maybe overseas more than anything.
Right.
And, you know, I think putting the 4 new songs was part of the selling aspect of it. It's like, hey, just like with the Live 2, hey, there's 5 brand new songs on here. Make sure you get it to hear that. You know, 4 new songs on this. You know, hell, even when Psycho Circus came out and they released that that 3D video package and it came with a CD and it had In Your Face on it, which at the time was the first, you know, only way to hear it. Like, that was a big selling point for me. I was like, oh, an unreleased song and it's by Ace. Like, I gotta get this just to have that one song.
Right.
And obviously that's how us Kiss fans are. I mean, just like Kissology, you had to go out and buy from 3 different stores to get each individual bonus disc. You know, you just that type of thing. So,
right.
I'm glad they had, you know, the foresight that long ago to include those 4 new songs on here.
Right. Although, again, and I was thinking this and I'd forgotten about it till you were saying that, I think, honestly, realistically, none of these songs stand up to something like Detroit Rock City or God of Thunder in the long run, which I think is why we haven't heard anything about them since. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love these songs, and I'm glad they did it, but, you know, you can't put I'm a Legend Tonight next to Love Gun and expect the majority to prefer I'm a Legend Tonight, you know?
Exactly, and I totally get that. I'm pretty sure that they pulled one of these out on the cruise. I want to say it was Nowhere to Run.
That'd be cool.
I'm pretty positive that they did that, whether it was last year or year before, but I can almost swear.
Seems like Paul did something in his solo acoustic show.
Yeah, he did. It was Nowhere to Run, because I remember he was doing that on the acoustic there, that intro, and
Yeah.
maybe that's what I was thinking of.
That's
But,
neat.
yeah, totally. I mean, outside of this album, yeah, these songs wouldn't have held up, you know. Say if it was like, I don't know, another Alive or something.
Right.
Probably wouldn't have stacked up as well.
Right. I think they would have done really good if they had done a whole album of stuff like that before Creatures. That would have been great. I would have been totally down with that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, this works perfectly fine too. Served the purpose it was intended to serve.
Absolutely. And boy, did we all get punched in the face on the next album.
Oh yes.
I got to do something about this light back here. This window.
Stupid window.
Like, I swear, it doesn't look that bright. I can see outside, but yet on the camera it looks like it's this huge, like the sun is directly outside my window.
Yes, it's like the light source of the entire room. All right, are you prepared?
Be prepared.
Yes.
I am ready.
Some ranking. I'll tell you what, we got to get out of this slump. We ended up with an overall average ranking of 6.8 out of 10.
Wow.
That is our third album in a row that couldn't break that 6 out of 10. This one came close, but
I gotta say though, for greatest hits and all intents and purposes, it is a greatest hits album.
right.
That's not bad.
That's true. That's true. I think that still ended up faring better than Double Platinum. Yeah, just barely, actually. But, sheesh. Okay, so our rankings. In the number 15 spot, Escape from the Island. No big surprise there. I think pretty much everybody had that one at the bottom. Number 14, appropriately, Talk to Me. I should stop being biased about this. Good thing we're more or less past that song now. Number 13 spot, Shandy. Number 12, I Was Made for Loving You. 11, Sure Know Something. The number 10 spot, Rock and Roll All Night.
Wow.
Yeah. Number 9, God of Thunder. 8, Cold Gin. 7, Shout It Out Loud. 6, Partners in Crime. Number 5, Love Gun. Number 4, Detroit Rock City. And our top 3 for this one, all new songs. Down on Your Knees in the 3rd spot. I'm a Legend Tonight in the 2nd spot. And Nowhere to Run in 1st place.
Nice.
So, another 3 medals for Paul, man. Sheesh.
Yeah, we knew that was pretty much inevitable with this album.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
I mean, my God, even Detroit Rock City was right there outside of the top 3 too.
Yeah. I mean, you know, now that I'm looking at this track listing, something that we've more or less jumped over is Gene barely has any. I mean, Cold Gin, part of Shout It Out Loud, God of Thunder, and Rock and Roll All Night, the only Gene songs out of 15.
Yeah. And not that I necessarily expected Rock and Roll All Night to make the top 3 on this particular album, but I definitely thought it would be more than 10.
Right. Wow. So yeah, we're getting up there now. 6.8 is more or less middle ground for what we're doing right now. Tied with the Gene Simmons solo album, which also got a 6.8. It's not in last place. We've still got Peter. Peter with just a dead 6 out of 10 is still in last place. And then unshakably, Love Gun with a 9.42 out of 10. That one's been in our number 1 spot since we did the Love Gun album. So that's it's going to be interesting next week to see if Creatures can shake that out of there, because that might be one of the last chances any of these albums have to do that.
Yeah, I'm sitting here figuring up real quick. So that's what, 10 weeks now that's been in the number 1 spot.
Yeah. And I mean, not that that's horribly surprising.
No. Technically longer since we had little breaks here and there, but as far as the show goes, 10 weeks.
Wow.
I think it's going to be rivaled next week.
Yeah, I think we're going to get up there. If it just doesn't shake it loose, it's going to be close.
Yeah, after that, I'm honestly not too sure, other than maybe Revenge, but I don't know.
Right, yeah, Revenge could get up there, and I mean, I really like all the 80s albums, so those are probably going to get fairly high rankings from me, but, you know, who knows, everybody's rank does a little bit for everything, so
Right.
who knows what it could be. Honestly, Double Platinum would have been up there in the hard to beat range if I hadn't given it practically nothing. So yeah, it could be anybody's game at this point for any of these realistically.
Wow. So that does it for Killers. Please continue to send your input in for this episode. We'll, as always, keep adding it into the current rankings. Love how things get changed up with more rankings that we get coming in.
Yeah.
Makes it fun. Can't wait till the thing is all said and done, so to speak, because I love how it's just becoming a big, it's more like a Paul thing now. It's
right.
He's way far out ahead, that's for sure.
How many medals can we give to Paul, and how many more times will Gene try to claim he's the better singer?
Wow, so finally get to say this. We are on to Creatures of the Night next week.
Woo!
As much as I love all these albums and doing this is the one I've probably been most looking forward to be honest.
Yes.
So I cannot wait for this episode. I know we got Steve coming back, and I'm not sure if anyone else was wanting to come on, but we may end up having a couple guests on with us next week. We'll get that taken care of. So keep on commenting, whether it is empty criticism or not.
Yes.
And
rest assured, we will be laughing either way.
yes. So please continue to send all your rankings in for Killers and all the past episodes if you haven't. Hey, if you're just now discovering us with this episode, feel free, go on back. There's no deadline or anything. Just start ranking them from the beginning up until now, and we'll add it all in there.
Absolutely.
All right, so until next week for Creatures, we will see you then. Later.